Hello and welcome to the THC show. I'm your host Neil Magnuson, and this is a show where we talk about some of the truths in our world that we're concerned about. We look for some reasons for hope, and to have hope you need to have some ways to change things, and that's what this show is all about. Today on the show, as usual, during our 420 session, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca, and Jerry Martin is going to join us for an update on what's going on with his situation in his pursuit through the courts for vindication of providing medical cannabis to people. And another thing that Jerry Martin's been invested in and interested in for the last little while has been psychedelics and the use of psychedelics to help people with depression and anxiety and pain and numerous other things like that. And I just noticed that in Alberta there's a clinic that's now opened up that's going to help people get access to psychedelics for that very reason. And since August of last year, Health Canada has actually given exemptions to 20 people to use psychedelics and magic mushrooms in particular for end-of-life procedures. So there's a lot of good stuff going on that front, as well there should be, because there's a lot of therapeutic use for these things that we've been denied for a long time here because of prohibition and things like that. I noticed that the CMHL, or at least the Canadian Hockey League, the Minor Hockey League, has gotten permission to play hockey during the pandemic, which is interesting that you know, we can play these kinds of games and the government allows for these things even despite the pandemic that's going on. And meanwhile, the overdose epidemic continues to rage on, and there's really not much being done along those lines, especially with respect to what we've been trying to accomplish with respect to the government giving us permission to continue the program that we've been operating for over 4 years to provide no-cost and low-cost cannabis to people to offset the use of opioids and other street drugs. And we've applied for our license and a ministerial exemption under an emergency basis over 5.5 months ago now, and we're still waiting for some action on that. So it's interesting that our government is you know, working hard to make sure that people can play games if they want, but when there's actual lives on the line, they don't seem to be doing much about it at all. So that's our big wait for the federal government right now. This is our pursuit of a license to allow for low barrier access in community-based cannabis shops, and we've been on this journey for a long time. We'll get to more of that later on in the show. The show is always these days an update on that pursuit of ours, and not much to report other than another week in the books that has gone by without any approval of any sort from Health Canada or the federal health minister. I would like to just mention that, you know, cannabis was medicine for a long time in North America here. It was the second most sold, almost half of all medicines sold were cannabis-based medicines from 1842 to 1900, and the whole criminalization has been such a farce, you know, a bunch of big lies that have been told for a long time to protect corporate interests, to put down minorities, to give governments control over us in ways that they want and we don't. And all of it is long overdue that that we stop the nonsense, that we stop the reefer madness that's been going on for so long and is still going on. The whole legalization of cannabis that has been achieved through years of work of proving that cannabis is not only not harmful, dangerous, addictive, and major problems for society, but it's quite the opposite. It's medicine for so many people and so valuable in so many ways. It has so many industrial uses and is not a danger. There's no danger of addiction. There's no physical addiction to cannabis. There's no societal problems that are caused because of cannabis. In fact, many of them are solved because of cannabis, as it's a violence suppressor. And when it's offsetting the use of alcohol, we all know that statistically alcohol causes us a lot of problems. So cannabis, of course, is a benefit if it can offset the use of that. And so many other benefits of what's going on with cannabis. We've been proving that it's medicine for a super long time here. The history shows that it's been medicine for thousands of years throughout all kinds of cultures around the globe. And yet still we fight government. And the reason that we fight government is because there's a lot of corruption going on. And whenever there's corruption, you know we're talking about money. And so there's a lot of big bucks that are at stake with respect to cannabis. There's a lot of places and groups that were making large amounts of money because of prohibition, and they don't want to let go of that. And so this legalization that we've got going on here in Canada is really a corporate takeover of the entire cannabis production and distribution industry, and also protecting the jobs of all of those people and groups that were making a large amount of money off of prohibition. They still get to do that because the criminal code is still in play, and people are still going to be arrested and jailed and have their houses and properties seized, and all of that stuff is still going on with so-called legalization. And it's really not legalization until there's no more penalties for pot, and people can trade and grow and access where and how they want without interference from government. It is really, really important, especially with this overdose epidemic going on, that people have access to cannabis. Ted Smith and the Victoria Buyers Club have been helping people get access to cannabis for 24 years, and they are now under siege because the CSU is trying to strangle out any of the competition that might be there for the government non-medical stores. And it's just as immoral as can be that they would be putting out of business the medical cannabis stores to support a non-medical industry that does not satisfy the needs of the medical users at all. It restricts access to cannabis as medicine for people who need it for debilitating conditions. And now, as has been proven over the last number of years, the studies there's many of them. There's dozens and dozens of studies. Just Google cannabis and opioids and see that cannabis is definitely effective in offsetting all of the drivers of addiction and opioid use, anxiety, pain, depression, those sorts of things. But also that cannabis in the form of high-dose edibles is effective at helping people get through the withdrawal off of those opioids. So that information is all out there. Ted Smith and his group have been helping people get access for 24 years. Yet here's our government spending our tax dollars to have their Gestapo, stormtroopers descend on any medical dispensary that's out there and try to snuff them out. And at this point, with Ted and the Victoria Buyers Club, the tactic is to threaten the landlord. And so now Ted is facing eviction, and that's all because of the CSU trying to protect the government non-medical stores from what they would consider unfair competition. Unfair because they have artificially inflated the price of cannabis to beyond that where it was during Prohibition, which is absolutely outrageous. Prohibition prices were outrageous. $10 for a small little bud of something is outrageous. But that's what's going on, and so our money is being used to try to put them out of business. Ted thinks perhaps he has a new space, just in the last 24 hours that they can occupy. So that would be great. I know that his plan without that is to go to City Hall and set up a tent there and to supply people with cannabis, from City Hall property. I think that's a great idea. He should probably do that anyway. Although they have the support of City Hall, it's not the City Hall that Ted and the Buyers Club is up against. It's the provincial government with the CSU unit, and it's the federal government that's driving all of that. Ted has also got lawyers working on an application, which I think should have been put in a long time ago. I really thought it had been, and I wish that he would get on that real quickly. I know it's a lot of work involved, and he's got lawyers involved, and they're working on it every day. But he's got an application going in similar to ours here with the Cannabis Substitution Program and the Healing Wave. And so hopefully he'll have some success with that. But in the meantime, his lawyers are requiring payment. And so he requires donations. So if you can help them in their pursuit to be able to continue to help people get cannabis for medicine, then that would be great. And if you can't donate to the cause, one thing you can do is perhaps take a few minutes and contact Dr. Bonnie Henry and get her to do something to urge the federal government perhaps to license Ted, or to give him what we're looking for, a ministerial exemption. But for whatever she can do, I mean, she can present this to Cabinet. I think that there are things that the province can do if they're willing. just like I think there's things that the city can do if they're willing. But so far, for our situation, and it looks like for Ted's situation, is the city can't do much unless the province and the federal government decide that they're going to be doing the right thing. So put some pressure on Bonnie Henry, get her to do what she can from her position, and anybody else you can think of. You know, what we're doing here, and what Ted's been doing, is helping people get access to cannabis to help them with debilitating health issues. What we're specifically doing here in Vancouver with the Cannabis Substitution Program is we're providing cannabis for people as an option to help them get through withdrawal and get off of the opioids and the street drugs that are killing them. We've had an epidemic of overdose deaths going on for over 5 years now. There's over 5 people a day in this province die from that particular scourge. And what we've been trying to do is address that through cannabis. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, that, you know, the evidence is in. The jury has been back in for a while here. It's no longer a debate. Cannabis, especially in the form of high-dose edibles, can be very effective in helping people get through withdrawals. That's very, very important. I'm probably going to repeat that numerous times in the next little while here, because that's a very, very important point. The reason that there's people that are struggling with, well, are dying from a poison drug supply is because they're struggling with the addiction to those substances. And addiction, you know, it manifests itself in that it's very, very difficult to stop doing it without great physical discomfort. It's the withdrawal period that is required to stop doing what they're doing that is the barrier that keeps them from being able to quit. So it's not just an easy choice to decide that, oh, I'm just not going to do this anymore. It's well, okay, I've decided I'm going to go through the 3 or 4 days or more of hell that it takes to get off of this, and then I better have some sort of a solution on the other side for what I was using this for. Because in almost all cases, people that are using opioids and the harder drugs are using it to address serious issues to do with pain, emotional pain, physical pain, anxiety, depression, brought on by poverty, brought on by child abuse, brought on by traumas that have happened throughout their lives. And that's why they're using these substances. And so when they get through the withdrawals, they need to have a solution and another way to deal with them if it's not going to be the opioids and the other drugs. And that's what cannabis offers people. It offers both the way to get through withdrawal with the high-dose edibles, and then it offers a replacement for opioids and other substances in the form of cannabis flower or concentrates, extracts, hash, shatter, numerous more concentrated versions that can mimic the same type of power that people are looking for to be able to deal with their issues of pain and other types of distress. So what we're doing is we're providing this option to people. We here with the Cannabis Substitution Project have been doing it for 4 years. Ted Smith has been doing it for 24 years. And it's contrary to the criminal code, what we're doing. So that the Cannabis Act, that's now taken over from the previous criminal code entries to do with cannabis, forbid what we're doing here. They forbid the providing of cannabis at low cost and no cost in the amounts that we're offering people. And so we have had all kinds of trouble recently in the last several months in operating our program. For 3.5 years, we were at Vandu, where we didn't run into any problems. We managed to have people line up for hours on the street through 3.5 years of winter and summer and wind and rain and snow and heat and all the rest of it. While from the doorway of Vandu, we offered our cannabis products to them. After 2.5 years of doing that and studies that were done because of us, the city passed a motion allowing for low barrier access to cannabis, and then we opened a storefront in good faith because of that motion and in conversations we had had with City Hall, and for 4.5 months we offered the service from here. That's when the trouble started. That's when licensing showed up, unaware of the motion passed by council, threatened the landlord. The landlord's lawyer advised him to evict us. We resisted the eviction and ended up in court. The judge refused to give us time that would be required to get the licenses in place that we had applied for through Health Canada, decided that our hands were unclean and that we should be punished for that. And so he gave us 7 days to leave the storefront that we were in with no options and no time to find another place. Not able to go back to Vandu, not willing to line people up on the streets again. We immediately procured an RV, and without missing a day, without missing a beat, we providing our services now from an RV, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. We have the program where people get 250 milligrams, or pardon me, 250 people get 420 milligrams every 4 days for free. And we were providing low-cost cannabis for people who don't want to be part of a program, but who do need easy, low-barrier access to cannabis to help them with whatever they're struggling with. The eviction resulted in us moving into this RV. Being in the RV right across from the police station, within 2 weeks we were raided by the VPD. Also seemingly unaware of the support that we had from doctors, professors, city council, all of the local harm reduction groups, unaware of who we were and what we were doing, and they wanted no part of my explanation to them during the 15 minutes it took them to load up all of our stuff, steal it, and drive away. So we're still waiting for Health Canada. We sent our application, like I say, over 5.5 months ago now, marked emergency. We had conversations right off the bat with Health Canada and the Health Minister's office. They responded and said that they would try to address our issues in a timely manner. But here we are 5.5 months later. The licenses should take some time because the structure of the Cannabis Act means that it's very difficult for them to allow for people to sell cannabis at reasonable prices because they're artificially inflating the price of cannabis to satisfy those people that have bought licenses at very high dollars and gone along with the regulations to provide cannabis through the government legalization scheme. I understand that it's difficult to just allow us to have people who are willing to help us supply cannabis at a reasonable price to people. After all, it's just a plant that grows like just about any other plant. It's not that hard to provide it inexpensively if that's what you want to do, and that is what we want to do, and that's what we're trying to do. So the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 262B, says that without reasonable cause, a person is guilty and subject to up to 10 years imprisonment for impeding or attempting to impede any attempt to try to save the life of someone. And that's what we're doing here. It's 4:19. Get them rolled because I only got 1 more minute. But this is the point. It's a criminal offense in Canada to prevent somebody or impede somebody's efforts to try to save a life. We're trying to save the life of thousands of people. We have 250 people part of our program for 3.5 or 4 years now whose lives have been saved because we've got them out of the poison drug supply. We know what we're doing is right and it's successful. We have experts in the field of medicine and social interactions all on our side. It's clear as clear can be that we are helping in this situation, that we are saving people's lives through the use of cannabis. And we are being impeded and having obstacles placed in front of us and trying to be dissuaded from doing it by governments, all in the name of money. This is the real crime that's going on. This is what we're involved with right now. Our government public servants are actively working to impede us in our efforts to save the lives of your sons and daughters, your brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, mums and dads, who are struggling with their issues, no fault of their own, and find themselves in this situation where they're stuck with no other out but to access the drugs that help them through a poison drug supply that rolls the dice and rolls the roulette table every time they take it. And all we're trying to do is provide an option for a safe supply of a non-lethal alternative that can save their lives. This is a crime going on. Our federal government is the perpetrators, and we're just trying to do something about it. So that's all the time I have to say something right now at the first part of the show. We'll get into more of this later on. But for now, I'd like to welcome Glenn Wells into the studio. We call this a studio now. It really was our store.
Yes,
hi, Glenn. 420 session. I hope you're having one at home. What I've got for the 420 session is a joint of Congolese.
There you go.
Which was the favorite strain of our dearly departed friend Greg Williams,
Yes.
that we're so sad to have had to say goodbye to. But we were so blessed for so long to have had that gentleman in our midst and providing a very soft-spoken leadership in our pursuit of rights and freedoms and the ability to use this plant. So for Greg, I'm going to spark this up. I mean, 420 has a whole new meaning for me and many other people now. Greg was the MC that we used for 25 years. Well, not really, because I guess he wasn't there for the first few that we put on. But you know, he was our MC for the 420 events, and so now every time it's 420, I think of Greg, and whenever I can, I'm going to spark one up for him. So I hope you're doing that too.
I'm going to do a dab on this gravity bomb.
What do you got there?
A Stunden Glass gravity bomb.
Stunden Glass.
Yes, it's very good.
Stunden Glass.
Watch.
Sounds very German.
I think it's Swiss or something.
Oh, you broke it already.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Oh, man.
No. There you go. Oh, that's the wrong way. Can you,
What do you want me to do?
no, I gotta flip it over.
Is it hot?
Yeah, it's very hot. You don't want to touch that.
You don't want me to go like that?
No, here, you want to grab that for a minute?
Sure, I'll help you
We're
with
having
that.
a little, yeah.
You might not get that back.
There we go. We'll get that back.
I
There
don't
we
know.
go.
Well, you're bigger.
Ready?
You're bigger than me, but you might not be
Okay,
tougher.
so when you flip
No,
it...
You're 8 out of 10. I'm 9 out of 10.
This is not working today.
Oh my God! Wow, look at
shit.
that.
I was
So is
just
this thing
having
on my
fun.
lap hot?
Shouldn't be.
Okay.
We're having some fun today because the wire is getting in the way of the.
We're trying to compete with Carly Marley and BC Bud.
Yeah, but then it flips the other side, right? So
And then it goes like
there
this.
you go. Yep, there you go. He's actually doing a dab. There we go. Nice. And then when you pass it to your friend,
That does
you do
not
another
suck.
dab.
That does
Yeah,
not
see, there it
suck.
goes again.
See, this is
Yeah.
the issue you got going on
Yeah.
here. Here, let me do this for you. You just got to get it underneath or something, or over on that side. That'd be a better idea.
Yeah, just do it that way.
Eventually, we learn.
Nope. Here, what's up?
Is it upside down again?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, don't worry about it. All right. So you just sit there.
That looks
and we'll
better.
flip it. Now we got it.
That looks better.
Got to work out the ways, right? There, Jerry's
Student
doing it now.
glass.
Student glass. Gravity
Student
bomb.
glass.
$650. Wow. You okay, Jerry? Yeah.
I suspect somebody's making money on that.
Oh, they're doing. It's trademarked.
Yeah.
It's trademarked. It says right there.
I don't know what's in there that makes it worth a small car.
Gravity.
Gravity, yeah, and water, I guess.
I mean, it's a great idea.
Plastic bottle.
It's a great idea, but it's really,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
I mean, if the product works, fine. If people have money and want to pay for it, fine. I typically look at something that has a price tag like that and go, well, where's the mechanics? Where's the motor?
Well, it's made of steel, so it's very heavy.
Okay,
They're very
Steel
durable.
is not $600.
No, maybe
So
blue steel is.
Creativeness is.
I suspect somebody's making a good buck on that.
Good for them.
Good for them.
Yeah, yeah, and we get to enjoy it, right?
They're never going to have me advertise their machine, are they?
I don't know. They're not going to ask me either when they were doing it, right?
I just like to tell the truth.
I love this thing.
I
Yeah.
just love to tell the truth.
It's my favorite color too, blue.
That's got to be worth $100.
Well, the black one's cheaper. The green one's more expensive. They have a Dr. Green Thumb one.
And it's more expensive. Why?
I don't know. I guess
Green
be-
paint
because-
costs more than blue paint?
Maybe because it has Dr. Green Thumb's name on it or something.
They got to share their money with somebody else named
Cypress
Green
Hill,
Thumb.
maybe Cypress Hill has the marks on Dr. Green Thumb. They might have copyright or trademark for that name.
I believe they do.
They do? That's probably why they have a little bit more extra price on that then, yes, to pay the royalties,
They
right?
make money.
Yes, and you were saying about writing letters. Why don't we write letters to the mayor of Vancouver? It would hit home since he just lost a family member to an overdose. If you have overdose letters and stuff like that, write to him. Yes, he did. That's why he wrote to Trudeau about decriminalizing hard drugs, and he said it right on Global News. He just lost a family member to a fentanyl overdose.
A city has quite amazing power, actually.
Yeah.
The city has the power to break federal law. They can do what they think is right within their city. It's just that here in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver has decided to follow Canada's lead, is how
Yes.
they put it, on
Yeah.
the Cannabis Act. And so even though they could give us a license to occupy this store and provide our service. They've decided to not do that unless Health Canada or federal government decides to allow it.
Some people are saying that they should, as soon as that happened to his family, that Mayor Kennedy should have been down here supporting you.
He should be.
Yeah, he should have been right here, right?
I mean,
but you know,
Mayor Kennedy voted in favor of the motion to allow for low barrier access, so good on him for that.
And he wrote the letter for
I think he's done some good things. Vancouver is now decriminalizing all possession of all drugs, small amounts, which they've never really enforced anyway.
No.
They've had an agreement with the VPD for a long time that small amounts of drugs, unless there's aggravating circumstances, they don't follow through on charges with. But, you know, I'm not happy with the fact that we've been operating our program for 4 years. He hasn't been mayor for most of that time. But when he was elected mayor, I wrote letters asking for a meeting with him. Right away, like that very day, and 3 times following, and never did I get a response back. Never do I get a meeting. Like you mentioned, they should come down here and have a look. You would think, you know, but they never come down here to have a look.
You've also inspired Doug and Michelle. So if you're in the Gibsons area,
hi Doug and Michelle.
Yeah, they're going to be doing a CSP in Gibson's on Wednesdays at the store.
Nice.
At their education center.
Nice.
I don't know what Wednesday it's going to start, but they announced it on their video
great stuff,
last night. Yeah, so they're going to be doing the same thing. Now their situation is a little bit different because a lot of people are dying in their homes, not on the streets like here. So they're saying they have a questionnaire like you do, and they want you to be honest. They don't care if you're on sleeping pills or whatever. They just want you to be honest. Right, so that's what you've inspired them to do, and now they're doing it, and then there's going to be one in Ontario soon, right? So look what you're doing.
Yeah, it's in Sudbury, I think they've already got that going there.
Yeah, in Sudbury.
Nova Scotia, Chris Backer, a huge shout out to him and his team over there. They're doing fabulous stuff. They really go through the winter. You know, I complain a lot of how we've had to have people go through the winters here in Vancouver.
They really go through Sudbury. It's bad.
And I saw what Chris was going through there in Halifax.
Oh, Halifax has been getting a lot of snow.
Oh man! No, that's real dedication for sure.
Another supporter is that Mr. Sterling.
Yeah, and hey, it's Sterling's birthday today.
It is, and you know what?
And hey, you got your grandson?
My grandson is 7 years old today. Isaac Glenn.
Probably not watching the show, but it's okay if he does.
He is.
I
sent his mom a link. I let him know that his grandpa would probably be singing with Neil.
Oh, you're going to sing with me?
I'll sing with you.
Well, I don't know if I can keep up.
I don't know. It's more like if I can keep up with you.
Oh, I don't know.
So all right. For Sterling and Isaac.
For Sterling and Isaac, congratulations on making it through another year. I hope that the year ahead is a great one for you. Tons of opportunity in this world of ours, and for both of you guys, there's a whole lot that next year could offer you. So I hope you have the happiest of birthdays today and a great year to come. And you don't get away quite that easy.
No, ready? Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Sterling and Isaac. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
And Douglas,
don't you snore.
And Douglas says he starts on Wednesday.
Yeah, he starts on Wednesday.
CSP and Gibson, or Seashell.
Yeah, happy birthday to the Seashell version of the CSP. All the best
there you go, eh?
You know, part of the mission is to get the word out. We're trying to do that as part of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We would love some media attention. We would love the word to really get out there that cannabis is a viable option for people wanting to get off of opioids.
Don't go to your government
store. The edibles are the way out through withdrawal.
Yeah.
This is very important. If people know that, then they need to have a place to get it from. So we need to have low barrier access, community cannabis shops, and CSPs, all over the place in conjunction with that. That's
like
what
I
ours
was saying,
is.
don't go to your government store because the stuff that they have there will not help you. The edibles will. You'd have to buy like 10 of their edibles, eat them all at once to get the high dose edibles.
Yeah, if you eat enough to get off of opioids, you're going to have a weight problem.
Yeah, you're going to or diabetic problem.
Maybe a dental problem. Maybe a diabetes problem.
Yes, I know, eh?
And maybe a lack of money problem. So yeah, the government stores don't have the option. That's the point.
Yeah, they don't.
That is the point.
Yeah, and it would be nice if they did, and then a lot of people could get more help. It wouldn't have to be, you know.
My original mantra, for most of my activism was legalize and regulate.
Yeah.
That's what we were looking for. We just wanted it to be reasonable, like any other product, bring us into the mainstream, legalize and regulate. But now they gave us legalized and regulated cannabis, and so that mantra doesn't fit anymore.
No.
Now what we need is low barrier access.
Yes, and high dosage.
Yeah, low barrier access to high quality cannabis in all of its forms, including and especially high dose edibles.
It's almost like the government, by irradiating it and spraying it with chemicals, is trying to prove that they were right, that it's not good for you.
You think there might be some of that going on?
You think so, eh?
Yeah.
When we already know that it's really good for you. We've had, decades of it, and nobody's ever got sick from buying from their local person or their grandma.
There's never been a problem.
No,
never
really,
been a problem.
like,
so if you haven't seen what irradiated cannabis looks like, well, you might be interested in what that would look like. Because when they irradiate it, it's like having sent out some sort of a bomb across a battlefield, and all of the plump crystal trichomes that were there and resin glands that were there are now just withered and empty.
It looks brown
and,
or something like
brown,
that on a microscope. Yeah.
And it looks like a desolate wasteland.
Like a desert.
Whereas prior to irradiation, it looked like a beautiful garden full of all kinds of wonderful
diamonds.
Like
little colors and diamonds and all kinds of stuff.
Cannabis is amazing. Just Google cannabis images and have a look and see. Maybe you could even Google irradiated cannabis and see if it shows you. I haven't tried that. No. I've seen it myself under a microscope.
Well, we should do that, because I know that our friend here has a microscope for his tablet. We could show the difference, right?
Could, if we had some irradiated cannabis.
One of them too. You have one of those too? Well, there we go.
So you don't want it irradiated. And like you say, I mean, it almost seems like there's a plot to
prove them right.
To discredit cannabis.
Yeah, exactly.
That cannabis doesn't work great. Well, it doesn't work great because you killed all the medicine that was in it before you had somebody smoke it there.
Because they can't be wrong, right?
And edibles don't help people get off opioids. Well, of course they don't at 10 milligrams per chocolate bar or whatever you're selling. Yeah. So, I mean, we give out cookies. Well, we give out cookies that are 30 milligrams for free to people that aren't part of our program, that want to be part of the program, but we can't expand the program until we're comfortable that we can do that with the resources that we have. But everybody that comes to the Healing Wave CSPRV that wants something and doesn't have money, we give it to them. Everybody gets a cookie and a joint. We have many people that come every day for their cookie and their joint, and that's at 30 milligrams. But we also have cookies that are 260 milligrams.
Yeah.
And that's not enough for some people. It's too much for some.
Yeah.
It's enough for some, too much for others, not enough for others, because that's the whole thing.
I take that every night. Yeah. About 2 hours later, I'm ready for sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
So 10 milligrams doesn't do much for anything.
Douglas says we should do a duet.
We just did. You missed it, Douglas. Sorry about that.
See, on Saturday they have this new shits and giggles and ticket things where they do karaoke.
They do lots of great things.
We do karaoke. It just started last Saturday. So you sing from your home and people vote for you. So he says that you and I should do Happy Birthday this Saturday.
We'll see.
Well, you know what?
Almost always when you guys are doing your show, and you guys, all the other people should be watching that for sure. It's lots of fun. Yeah. But I live a busy life. And, I mean, I can't even watch my own show.
No, I
barely have time to do my own show.
Getting ready to shut down the RV.
Who is what?
You are at 6 o'clock on a Saturday because it's an hour before you shut down, right? So you're getting ready to shut it down.
Yeah, well, my work just really starts getting busy around close down time.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And then we've got stuff we do for about an hour after that, and just every day is so busy. I don't get a lot of time to watch anything online. Don't feel bad about that. So, but yeah, they have a great show. I see they do lots of really cool stuff. They're
he said they bought a DMX machine, so they're going to test all the strains that come into the store.
Nice.
Yeah, That's really great.
We can do all this stuff ourselves. The stupid government thinks that they get to charge $15 for a shitty gram. Because
or we can't. For an eighth.
We're not smart enough to know whether we're buying good cannabis or not, or we can't figure out how to test it ourselves. I mean, I'm a testing machine myself,
too. 40
as
years.
good as any other testing machine that's out there, probably. Good on you guys for showing the government that we don't need you. Yeah. We can do this ourselves. And that's what needs to happen. Our model of low barrier access cannabis stores includes licensing for our suppliers who we've been trusting for years, and we have testing equipment, and we test everything that comes through here ourselves. So there's no reason why that can't be used. There's no justification for not allowing that. And here we're now back to the sections 262B of the criminal code, where, you know, where is any justification to impede or prevent us from providing this life-saving alternative to people? You know, where is there any justification for the government in interfering with that? None whatsoever. None ever.
They do, well, just that they told us all these years that it was bad for us.
Sure, they can quote lies.
Yeah, quote lies.
They can quote lies. I can show you a demonstration where for 3.5 years we've given out tens of millions of milligrams of cannabis in the form of high-dose edibles to people, and we've not had a single problem as a result of it, other than, admittedly, most people at one point or another eat too much, go through an uncomfortable, you know, 4 to 6 hours of having eaten too much, but there's no health issues that are prolonged. It's not significant, and they don't do it again because it's uncomfortable. They find the right dose for them, and they have a good life. The government does not need to be involved in this. So it's like, and how I feel about it is, we've stepped in when we needed to step in. 4 years ago, it was getting serious. People were dying regularly, and I knew the answer because of my past experience in providing high-dose edibles to people who were on hard drugs, having them tell me how they could, you know, use them to get off of them and use them to replace them. And so, I mean, 165 total deaths in January. This is Canada-wide?
This is Vancouver.
Just in Vancouver.
Vancouver, yes.
And that's already this year. That's
5.3 people a day dying down here. They said, this is Global News at noon. They were saying this is in Vancouver. 18% were extreme fentanyl levels found. 14 cases were carfentanil found, and increasing use of this.
Etizolam.
Yeah, something like that. But 5.3 people are dying down here every day.
So, I mean, that was the thing, is I recognized, because of what we had learned at in the herb school back in 2004, that cannabis edibles really works for people. And that's why we had to step in and do this. So we did. And I tried to do it the right way right from the beginning. I've never tried to hide what we're doing. I've never tried to deceive in any way. I've not told lies about anything. I went to City Council. I went to the Vancouver Police Board. I told them all, this is what I'm going to do. Please help us. Please support us, you know. And so we've tried to do the right thing all the way through. It's now getting absolutely ridiculous. It's 4 years in that we've been demonstrating how valuable this service is to people and how safe it is to people. And here we're still being interfered with, impeded by governments, not licensed by government. And that if we had a license, we wouldn't be out in an RV 40 feet down the street here. We'd be inside this store. We'll go out to the RV shortly here on the show. But we would be in this store where people can come into a safe, dry, warm space and be served properly like anybody else deserves to be served, that you get served like in any other drugstore or any other coffee shop or any other store that you might go into. We had the same thing going on here for people. And yet we've been forced out of here, onto the curb, into an RV, under threat, under siege, through the winter time, all because of government action and inaction with respect to us. All of it impeding our efforts to rescue the people that are in trouble down here and save their lives. This is a serious crime that's being perpetrated by government. And when you look at a crime and why is a crime committed, well, there's the motive that's always there that you look for, right? I mean, they're always looking for, was there mens rea, was there actus rea? In the mens rea side of it, in the mental side of it, what was the motivation? Why was this being done? And it's very clear that the reason that this is being done is to protect the interests of the people that get licenses from the government to supply cannabis in a non-medical fashion through an absolute government-controlled monopoly and at the exclusion of everybody and anybody else. That's what this is about our public servants having made commitments to the people that are wanting to cash in on legalization, that they will not allow for what it is that we need to offer people to do the job that needs to be done here. So this is all about corruption, it's all about money, and it's all about people dying because of governments that are so involved with the corrupt end of protecting monetary interests and not being concerned about the people whose lives are being lost, whose families are being disrupted and destroyed because of this overdose crisis, all driven by prohibition, all driven by government policies, and now not even being allowed to be assisted because of government policies and government inaction. So it's a serious crime that's going on here.
We're here to change it.
Well, we're here to expose it and hopefully change it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So just before I let you go, Glenn, 8 out of 10...
CannaMatch.
CannaMatch.
That's growing.
CannaMatch is a wonderful service that puts people together that want to enjoy the cannabis lifestyle. And so if you're needing more friends or looking for partners to enjoy some magical vapors with, then CannaMatch.ca is the place to go. Not just for romance, but
meet people.
Maybe
you can become friends on Facebook and do a video smoke together. You never know, right?
Great for when you're traveling in areas where you're not familiar with people to hook up with people.
I gave over that special that we were having. I gave over 100 people 10,000 free credits. So
nice.
So it's grown. So
good. How long ago did you start it now?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Same time as our project.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. Once we got the word that it was going to be legal, that was it. Yes, I can do something about this now.
Nice. Well, good for you. And that's a really good service that you offer for people.
Thank you very much. I want to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. These things take on a life of their own.
Yes.
They do.
Once I want to get a commercial, it'll really help.
Yeah. You create it. And then you ride it.
Yeah.
And it goes where it's going to go.
Right now it's just going like this, like a Studebaker, but it's going to get going there. But it's still going.
Well, thanks for doing that.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for coming and sharing with us every week.
Yeah, no problem.
And we'll see you next week.
All right.
You're going to take that with you, are you?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll leave it here. No.
Well, for a little while.
Yeah, of course. I can do a dab while you guys are still there.
You can help my next guest have a dab in just a minute here.
No problem.
So, and the other regular segment on the show is the Martin Medical Moment, and this is where we talk about the journey of Jerry Martin from dispensary owner to pursued, charged person here under the whole legalization scheme. His dispensary that he was operating for 4 years in Whitewood, Saskatchewan, a small town, was ordered to shut down and closed down by the RCMP. He was charged with helping save people's lives and provide medicine to people who need it and can't get it elsewhere. I guess that's what the charge must be. I can't think of what else they could call it. And that's been going on for over 4 years now since those charges were laid, and still he's yet to have his day in court, but he's getting close. And here to tell us all about it, Jerry Martin, thanks again, buddy, for coming. And, April 24th to 6th, or 6th to 8th?
26th to 8th.
26th to 8th. Is this a preliminary?
Cross-examinations.
Cross-examinations.
Yeah.
So it's part of the actual deal.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there a preliminary go-through of any sort? Or?
No, tomorrow I've been working on it a bit today with the lawyer. So tomorrow I'll get my will say affidavit notarized, and we'll submit that. We've got to have that submitted by the 5th, so we have 3 days to do that. And then we'll go to the first part of the trial, and it should be over by the end of summer, he says.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess can't wait to get to that, whatever it is, eh?
Yeah, I guess it's a trial within a trial, he said today. It's either that or we got to separate the trials.
I see. There's a lot of logistics involved in your particular case. This is all now part of a constitutional challenge as well. There's other plaintiffs on your side, or other people on your side as well. So we'll see what happens. I have little faith that it moves quickly. These things seldom move quickly, especially when
much slower.
Especially when
5 years now. So.
Especially when they got nothing. Yeah. Like every day, more and more stuff to vindicate you, and and to support what you were doing there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they have any kind of a case at all.
Well, I imagine what they think it's a case.
In their perverted.
Like clearly, I was selling was selling cannabis.
Yeah, in their perverted, convoluted way of looking at things,
Yeah.
they can say that you broke laws, but anybody with an ounce of reason understands that this journey to where we are here involved an understanding that was verified through the courts that cannabis is medicine for people, and that people deserve access to cannabis. And so court case after court case after court case, same thing was always said. People deserve reasonable access to cannabis. And all you were doing was providing
exactly because that
reasonable access, except even your access was still not low barrier. It was still a doctor on board with a signature about a confirmation of a diagnosis and strict protocols. And still, they think that they should be able to come after you, where there's no victim in the courtroom. They got nobody that's going to stand up and say, "Mr. Martin forced me to use the marijuana, Your Honor, and I now I've got brain damage." They got none of that.
None of those.
None of those.
No undercovers got any. They tried. I think there's 3 instances in there where they tried to send in different undercovers.
Oh, so you've got that, eh?
Yeah, they never got past.
Well, I mean, that's good for you because you can say that they came
signed up. There was a couple. I still know they are, but I remember a few of them were. But yeah, they signed up, but they
lied.
They lied.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And they lied successfully because you probably had other people that came in and lied unsuccessfully over the time that you were there.
Well, I kind of knew, and I remember, even the cops, I would say, there was cops that were there. They told me they were, but I didn't care what they did. There's people like everybody else. Just leave me alone,
Well, it's not like there you are caught with a flashlight on you, your hands red with blood, and the victim beneath you, and that look on your face of, oh my God. I mean, this is not what it's about. This is about, hey, I'm doing the right thing. In a corrupt, bad world, the people in my little town,
our town needed that.
They need it.
Yeah.
So you, in good faith, you opened your dispensary because you weren't the first one to open a dispensary. You were following in the footsteps of other people that were doing similar things.
Yeah, there wasn't really any in Saskatchewan at the time.
No, of course, I understand that. Which even braver of you. But what you were doing was, saying, hey, this is what's going on in other places.
Yeah.
This is needed here.
Yeah.
And I'm brave enough to do it. And so you did it. You shouldn't be punished for that. You should be rewarded for that.
You would think so. Yeah.
I don't see anything, Glenn. What's going on?
Sorry, I was watching the video.
Your machine's broken.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I wasn't. The spinner didn't go spinning.
Yeah, it only works if you spin it.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
It should be Spindel.
I think I'd make it a few days, let alone 4 years.
You might get a who what?
I didn't know if I'd make it 4 days, let alone 4 years with that dispensary.
With
keeping it open.
Yeah, I totally got distracted
when
by
I
Glenn
started
there.
the dispensary, I didn't think I'd make it 4 days.
Oh, you didn't think you'd make it 4 days?
Yeah.
I understand that thought for sure. When we opened the herb school in August of 2004, we finally finished the big sign that we'd been working on. It's 12-foot by 4-foot sign with pot buds and poppy pods, and it said Herb School. It said Vancouver School of Drug War History and Organic Cultivation, and we mounted it up there above the door. We all stood back and looked at it, and the comment was, "Hey, we did it. We're open." We also felt like maybe the next day we wouldn't be open. We stuck this great big sign up, but. Yeah, I know the feeling that you don't think you're going to last more than a few days. Yeah. And then you start getting complacent after a while, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's like, it's like, business as usual. There's not really a thought that they're ever going to come in and bust you. Well, I mean, we still did. I can't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, we still did have those thoughts that they might do that, and they did eventually do that. But with the Cannabis Substitution Program, boy, I'll tell you, I sure never thought they were going to come and raid us. After 4 years of doing what we're doing, with all the support that we have from so many areas around us and people around us, that all the right people around us support us, except for the federal government and Trudeau.
That's the way it is.
But yeah, so that
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, so I'm not sure what they think they've got, because you're a guy that decided to help your community in a brave way, but still in a way that you felt was going to be okay. I mean, I know you felt maybe it wouldn't last 4 days, but at the same time, you were looking at other dispensaries, you were understanding the need, you had put the things in place to have the doctor's confirmation and all the rest of it.
Well, the first 2 years, it wasn't really like that. It was really difficult. It was really difficult. I had a partner at that time, and
right?
You're in a bit of control of the cannabis and this and that. And it was very stressful, and it was
stressful for you.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
Right.
There's no money to help anybody, and
But that's not. But
so
that's,
that all changed.
That's not the side of things I'm exploring. Though. I'm more exploring about whether or not what you were doing was something that was criminal, something that was potentially harming anybody, something that the government should make sure you're not able to do to protect society.
No, I believe you 100%. I was doing was legal. It was all over the news. Gray area this, gray area that. So
your ultimate. I mean, you knew it was risky. You knew there was possibilities of getting derailed or getting busted or whatever. But ultimately, your goal was to become a mainstream regulated dispensary, and that legalization was coming, and that you felt, because you were, I know you did, because I know it's a businessman's way of looking at things, is that are we going to succeed or not? And you felt like you were going to succeed. You knew it was risky and maybe you wouldn't, but you felt the chances were good enough that you would actually follow through and do it, and you did it in good faith.
I made sure everything I did along the way was transparent, out in the open, so there's lots of record of, not only things I did, as a dispensary owner and provider, but for the surrounding community and others, right?
You were concerned about doing it the right way.
Yeah, I wanted to set a really good example for the rest of Canada, the rest of the world, to show, not only can be a profitable business in the middle of nowhere, but you can do a lot of good with that money and still make money. I wanted to show both sides, that it wasn't just about access for me, and that was obviously the most important part, but I wanted to show the profit involved and what can be done with that profit, and not just cannabis as a medicine, but cannabis as a tool to help your community.
Right, exactly. So your intentions were really good. Your intentions were good, your expectations were good, and as you went along, all you did was help people. Like, you got reinforced, I'm sure, every day.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for what you're doing. I appreciate that you're helping me with this. Blah 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 blah. So I really don't know what the Crown has. I really can't see them coming up with anything even close to intention to do any harm in any way, shape, or form. In fact, really noble intentions to do a lot of good. So I think you're going to be good, Jerry. I think that your lawyers are probably licking their chops. And I think that the courts or the prosecutor, the courts, I mean, they're supposed to be somewhat independent of the prosecutor, right? I mean, they're just going to listen to what the prosecutor says, they're going to listen to what your lawyers say, and they're going to make a decision. But I think the prosecution must be worried.
Yeah, I kept meticulous records. So one thing Paul said again on the phone today, my lawyer, is he's done a lot of dispensary cases, and if I'm not the top one, I'm right up there with the rest of them for keeping records and trying to do it the right way.
Trying to do it the right way, for sure. Yeah, well, this should be very, very
certainly
interesting.
not the top one. There's way more better ones.
But most of them aren't so good.
More organized.
Because
I
you don't want to
keep... I could with one person. But, BC Compassionate Club, Dana's Dispensary, there's a ton
that are trying to do it the right way. And there was a bunch of others that were... maybe not wanting to have records so much,
Sure there was.
Because that was just part of the position that they were put in. I mean, you don't know how well you want to keep records when what you're doing could be considered illegal, and all those records could be used against you down the road. But like I say, your intentions were good, your expectations were good, and your actual results were good.
I got to ask that question again today, too, is they may ask, where did you get your cannabis? So... when that comes up, apparently I might have to sit in jail for a while. What do they call that when you what's it?
Yeah. When you're contempt of court.
Contempt of court.
Really?
When you don't answer.
Because you'd be no, because the answer to that question is from trusted sources.
Yeah, well,
that's where you got it from. Was from trusted sources.
Yeah.
And the reason that you can't identify who they are is because this system is corrupt, and they would be harmed by a corrupt system.
Yeah.
And how could you ever do that to somebody? You're not that person.
Yeah.
And if the courts can't respect that, well, then the courts don't deserve respect themselves.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the truth of the whole matter. No, you got it from trusted sources, and you tested what you had.
Yeah.
You know, you were very careful not to allow any dangerous cannabis to get out into the hands of those vulnerable medical users.
You have some evidence that proves that too, so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, you did your due diligence.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that can go wrong with cannabis. I mean, there can be a lack of flushing, so now there's some pesticides and fertilizers and things that are in there. There's never been significant harm documented by any of that, but I mean, anybody with a brain can understand you don't want to be ingesting those things like that at any level.
But a microscope works.
Some molds can aggravate some medical situations. I've been told that. I've never met any of these people, but I'm sure I've been told that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I know when
I believe that there's some of that.
My throat goes. I feel
some
right
cannabis gives you the harsh throat. Smoking too much swag can definitely bring on chronic bronchitis, so that's no joke either. So there are some issues, but nothing serious. Well, and hyperemesis syndrome is probably more to do with the things that aren't flushed out of it than it is the cannabis itself. Possibly neem oil or some other things are suspect in that. So those things are of concern. They are of concern if you're a dispensary owner. And any dispensary owner worth his salt is going to be doing some things to try to prevent the stuff that getting out there that might be a
Well, that's
problem.
the other thing, the education. Is, I educated myself, and I went to these doctors and clinicals,
Do they provide certificates for that?
Yeah, so I've got
certificates.
Yeah, I got certificates from Dr. Mark Ware.
Oh man, your prosecutors are shaking in their boots, Jerry.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know you did the right thing the right way. You're a good man.
It shows that I tried to run it the right way, and that's the most important part to me. So, I did the best I could. It wasn't perfect, but I did a pretty damn good job for one guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Basic rule I follow is your bud burns black, put it out.
Yeah.
Don't smoke it.
It doesn't take much just to notice that there's something not right about something. You know, at the medicinal cannabis dispensary.
Nobody's going to want to buy that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and if they do buy it, you don't want to sell it.
You don't know until you spark it up, right?
You don't want people coming back in and saying, hey, this isn't burning right, this is sparked
I had 100% money back guarantee. Something didn't work.
And you don't want something not to work. Other customers in the store, you don't want unhappy customers, so nobody's trying to sell anything that's not right. The whole cannabis industry prior to legalization, and it was huge, 180 maybe dispensaries in Vancouver alone and other places across Canada, was self-regulated. It was self-regulated. Nobody wanted to sell anything that was crappy or not going to be appreciated. And that's all we really need. We don't need much government in this at all.
And most stores said whatever you had left, if you didn't like it, or we know sometimes cannabis won't work for somebody, but it'll work for somebody else, they would give you an exchange for what you had left.
Yeah.
So if you had bought a gram and you smoked a joint, well, you got two joints.
It was all about customer service. And for any dispensary that was out there, it pretty quickly, even if it started out just business for somebody that they thought they could get on the gravy train and this is an easy way to make money, because it didn't look like you were going to get busted. It looked like legalization was going to come, and then you'd be just free. I mean, a lot of people jumped in that. That's why we had 180 dispensaries. There was quite a few that saw it coming, thought that it was going to be good for everybody, and let's just get into this now. But it doesn't take very long of running a dispensary before compassion enters into your decision making, because the people that you're helping are profound. They
tell you their stories.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need a lot of government interference, because the dispensary owners already care about their customers. They already care about their reputation. They're doing what it takes to make sure the cannabis isn't dangerous in any serious way at all. And there's really, like I say, not been much in the way of any dangerous cannabis ever out there anyway. There's no hospital wards full of people with brown lung or...
apparently there's dangerous cannabis out there now.
Well, government cannabis is a little bit suspect.
Well,
we have to wait for a while.
These people... lights and everything and that stupid fentanyl, man. Whether the stories are true or not, but there's dead people in the news now.
This is the last couple of days?
Yeah, it was over on the East Coast. Yeah, young girl. But apparently, I don't know, and I don't want a third comment, but there's...
Yeah, and I don't know anything about that story.
And that, but they've portrayed it as that anyways. It's, you know, it's really
there have been other stories over the last few years, and all of them, I believe, were debunked as far as anybody like lacing the cannabis that they're selling to people. There was a police officer who had fentanyl with cannabis in his trunk that got cross-contaminated. There was some other things.
Easily done,
But you know, you need. We want a store, goddammit, that we can walk into and we can
feel safe.
And feel safe, like you know, that because the owner of the store is not going to be lacing his cannabis with fentanyl. I mean, neither are the mom and pop dealers out there in the world either. I mean, nobody's doing that. That's not a thing. It wouldn't be a thing. Why the hell would you do that?
Growing up, I rarely remember ever getting robbed for cannabis. It's an odd time.
I got ripped off for cannabis.
But yeah, well, that's it.
Right here, when I was like 15 years old, right at Main and Hastings, I bought newspapers spray painted green.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all over, you know, hang on, I gotta do this quickly. And, you know, I got around the corner and I opened this bag up and I thought, what the hell? It was just shredded newspapers, spray painted green.
Probably like 80s, probably great haircut time.
Yeah, right around here.
Wow,
man, that was a thing.
Fucker.
Yeah, I mean, and all those are just part of prohibition. You know, so I went to see my mom yesterday. Every Monday for me is Mom Day. Mom Day comes right after Sunday. It's right before Tuesday. You know, Sunday, Mom Day, Tuesday. I'm very, very blessed and fortunate in these times that I'm able to go visit my mom. I take my son with me and we go and spend some time with her. And I've been helping her with some cannabis edibles just in the last while. We've been bringing her a few. And it seems to be helping with her back issues. And so she doesn't remember from 10 minutes to the previous 10 minutes what was said or what she's done or anything. She doesn't remember that I visited her the week before or anything like that. But she's okay. She's got a really good disposition, and she still certainly knows who I am, and you know, and she's got her own little space there, and they're taking really good care of her right there. But my son and I were going to have some breakfast before we went to see her, and I realized I hadn't brought her any of our gummies, and I just jokingly, you know, sarcastically said to my son, "Gee, you know, if only there was some little store, you know, in the neighborhood that I could just drop into and." You know, and get what I need from my mom right now, you know, like this is stupid that I can't do that. And then it occurred to me that there was a place down on Marine Drive in White Rock there, the Bloom Indigenous Dispensary that I had visited a year or so before. I even took my mom there. And I wondered if they were still open, you know, with all this pressure from the CSU and law enforcement. And so I said, hey, well, let's go check out, you know, the Bloom, see if they're still there and see if they got what we needed. Well, sure enough. And it's the same as it always was, which is beautiful. Very, very nicely laid out bartenders. They had a lot of products there. You could look at the cannabis. I think they'd let you smell it if you want. I don't 100% know that, but I think that's true. But it's certainly right there to look at.
Yeah, they have a few stores in Chilliwack.
I think they said they had 7 stores in total.
They got them in Cultus Lake.
So I asked them, I said, you know, what's your status? I mean, are you fighting off government? Are you trying to get licensed? And they said, no, we're licensed. And I said, okay, really? Like, that's weird. And she was, yeah, we are licensed through our band. But she said that it was approved of by the federal government, and I'm not sure if that's true or not. I looked into that a little bit before the show, and I'm still not sure if that's true or not. But they have all their labeling on their packaging. Do I have that in here?
I heard, I think through Pat, that the government gave Indigenous people 21% of the cannabis, you know, monopoly, so that they could do what they want and grow their own.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's what she was saying, was they have the right to make their own rules on things.
Yeah. So, the nurse said I had for Iboga, actually. The Hurons on that.
I see. Not Pat Wernicke.
No.
Yeah, I asked him about it this morning.
Didn't have movie dose.
I see.
Big guy.
I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got that going on. They've got labeling that includes the, you know, the government's version of be like, is this symbol here is on all their packaging. We're going to have this one on all our packaging because that one makes a hell of a lot more sense than having a stop sign with THC. What the hell is that all about? You know, you don't want to stop THC, you want to ingest some THC. That's why you're buying the product.
Yeah.
So you're buying a product with THC in it specifically for the THC that's in it, and they put a symbol on it of a stop sign and THC there, like as if you should stop if it's got THC in it, but that's the specific reason that you're buying the product. So yeah, that makes no sense to me. This makes a lot of sense to me, is that THC can stop the fentanyl scourge. Yeah. So that's what's going on all of our products. But yeah, they got a very nice store there. The pricing wasn't outrageous. It was still higher than what it probably should be for, you know, but that's just the cannabis world we're in right now. If they would allow for some proper competition, you would see that people would be able to sell cannabis at much more reasonable prices, and all the different products that cannabis is involved in, the prices would all come down, and people would still make a really good living at what they're selling. But yeah, so the other thing, Jerry, was I see there's still more movement on the psychedelic world.
Yeah.
I was noticing there's a clinic in Alberta that's now helping people get access. What's going on with you in that?
Still in the midst of working out something with a licensed dealer where we just may go another route and apply for our own dealer's license.
So there's some obstacles that you're coming up against?
Only one obstacle we came up with, and that was greed. But we dealt with it. It's a long, you know, it really put a damper into things and into the process, but it's okay. I think it'll work out better in the end.
Right. There's always serious lessons to be learned in those ones.
Yeah, right? For sure. And something, you know, he's a really good guy. You know, he's going to be actually a witness for our case. It just didn't work out for us.
I see. But
anyway,
so it's just some internal struggles. But other than that, you're going to be able to proceed by the looks of it. With what you're doing.
We're moving forward. Yeah, I talked to a lawyer about that again today too. So. And
that includes some case studies and some trials and things like that.
Yeah. So the idea is we'd be developing our own drugs and you know, as well as you know, study for others and ourselves. Right. For a couple of reasons, we want to study the efficacy of the drug. And we also want to keep building more evidence for court to bring forth the court battle to legalize psychedelics and decriminalize them.
Right. And a lot of momentum on that side of things. There's a lot of investors that are interested. There's a lot of jurisdictions that are, you know, coming on board with allowing for that, and so that's a really good thing to see.
Yeah, it just takes time.
It just takes time. It's a process for
sure. I'm not a patient guy. I'm a doer.
Yeah. Well, maybe this whole journey of yours is all the universe trying to teach you patience. Maybe that was your purpose for this time around. Was learn to put things in balance a little bit and be a little more patient. Although I think there's validity on both sides. It's good to be patient sometimes. It's necessary. And for me, if you can't change it, then I don't, you know, no point standing there at a red light and, you know, getting all over it. It's not going to change the light any faster.
Well, so
you're just wasting your time. But there is also a time when that urgency is very, very important. And timing is everything.
Sure it is.
You got to seize the moment. And a lot of times, if you let things go even for a short period of time, you're going to miss the opportunity. So I'm glad you're on that. I think you're the right guy for navigating that course. It can't be easy. Groundbreaking stuff. You know.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. It's you know, it's a wonderful world.
It's a wonderful world. It is for sure. So, anything else before we go visit the RV?
No, I don't think so. Things are good.
So, the RV and what this you can stay if you want, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna answer the lawyer here.
Oh, okay. You go get on your phone. Glenn, you can join me if you want.
Sure,
we're just hanging out here.
We're gonna go see the reefer van.
We're gonna go do that. This show is devoted to finding truth, hope, and change, primarily with respect to freedom, rights, and the pursuit of access to cannabis reasonably, and especially for people with medical needs. Although there is really no non-medical use of cannabis, recreational cannabis use is recreational cannabis use, and recreation is that's cool how I do that when I move my name. Keep that going there. I can just
recreation.
We're doing a little recreation here.
It's not an earthquake, even though we are in Vancouver.
It's an Neil quake. Now it's an earthquake. Yeah, we brought it on there.
The big one is here.
Neil's jumping the gun there anyway, because I'm
you said we were going to go.
I'm going to yap before we go out there for a minute or two anyway.
That's okay.
Just to fill people in on what's going on, in case you don't know, we've got probably new viewers to the program, and maybe people don't want to go back and review the other shows. But primarily this is about the pursuit of access for medical patients to cannabis. And we've got this legalization that we fought for in Canada, except this isn't the legalization that we fought for. This is an attempt by the very people who have been trying to oppress the cannabis community for a long, long time to actually do a corporate takeover of the supply and distribution of cannabis to the people that want to use it, and to put down the activist community, to disunite the cannabis culture and the community of people. And that's all part of what we seem to be involved with here. We told them exactly how cannabis should be legalized, and instead they did pretty much the opposite of what we told them should be happening. They've artificially inflated the prices beyond reason, and one of our main things is like stop treating cannabis like it's any other grown commodity, and allow the marketplace to decide on what the value of cannabis is and how much money farmers want for bringing it to market, and whether or not the connoisseur cannabis, which many people do want, could be available for people, and there could be higher priced cannabis, absolutely 100%. But that there needs to be reasonable access, and it needs to be a reasonable marketplace of people growing this plant, which produces more biomass per cubic meter than any other plant you could grow, with more usable uses than any other plant you could reasonably grow, with more demand than any other plant that's out there. But the amount of money it takes to bring it to market is the question, and the government is trying to impose a system where they maintain the high, extremely high, and even higher than prohibition pricing on cannabis products, and use our criminal justice system and our law enforcement dollars and resources to restrict access to cannabis from any other sources. So that really is a horrible thing for any daily user of cannabis. It's an absolute nightmare for anybody who's a medical user of cannabis. The medical users of cannabis are people that are stuck with conditions that require them to have cannabis on a daily basis, and in many cases in large amounts. It would be like having a broken leg, but the crutch being too expensive for you to afford for every time you want to go to the bathroom, and so that you have to restrict how much you use that crutch, and delete a bunch of reasons. Maybe there's a few functions you'd like to go to, but you can't because you can't afford a crutch for that day. I mean, it's that ludicrous is what it is. Cannabis is this plant that grows pretty easy. You can have expensive cannabis if you can afford it and you want it, and that's great. But for people who can't and who need it, medical users, they should be able to be supplied by people who are perfectly willing to take much less money per pound, and maybe not put the expensive equipment in place and put all the attention into growing it that you would otherwise for the real connoisseurs. But still, nature produces wonderful cannabis that would be very, very beneficial to people, and that should be allowed in the marketplace. And the extracts and the concentrates are easy to do off of any grade of cannabis, so that should be allowed in the marketplace at reasonable prices. And so that's what's going on. This is still a battle. We have not won the war of legalization yet. Our work is not done. This is a step along the process. It's a process to getting there. We brought the government to the place where really they had little choice with the evidence that we had been presenting for years as activists, that were displaying how clearly the laws were wrong, and that the criminal law being used against people getting intoxicated or using this plant were completely outrageous. When there's people that are able to use alcohol, commercial tobacco, for God's sake, prescription synthetic pills and things, all of these things in our environment that are there, and then this one, they need to use the criminal law against people and put people in jail and seize their properties.
They even have synthetic cannabis. It's called Sesamet. They tried to give it to me before they gave me my license. Well, of
course they did.
Yeah.
This is all about pharmaceutical, military industrial complex that does not want people growing their own medicine and not having to use the pills that they're providing.
$33 a pill. But it was covered, of course.
Of course, it's covered. What a scheme and a scam that is. It's great to have your medication covered, but it's allowing for these pharmaceutical giants to become so enormously wealthy. Yeah. And then they use that leverage to restrict people's access to what you could otherwise use. A proper diet, the right nutrition is there for everybody. Yeah. The herbs provide the healing for just about everything that's wrong. In fact, the pharmaceutical synthetics that do work for people are all just patterned after nature. Yeah, exactly. They're all patterned after what the herbs do for us. Because we're all made out of plants. Yeah. You know? And plants are all made out of sunshine. Yeah. And the elements that are on this planet, the minerals and those things that are combined together to produce plants. And because there's plants, there's animals, because the animals eat the plants. And we are those animals that eat the plants. Or we eat the animals that ate the plants. But the plants are where the healing is. The plants are where our energy is where our nutrition is where all of the value that we need to sustain our life we find in plants. And I don't know that you are what you eat. I think you are what your ancestors ate for millennia. Yes, our bodies have been evolving and forming based on our environment and what we have been eating for a long, long time. We are we're what our ancestors ate, and we can tweak that with what we eat. But we're an ongoing fluid system of stuff in and stuff out. And the stuff that goes in that works for us, of course, is the cells of the food, the living cells of food. And that is also what heals us. That's what gives our body's immune system the chemistry that it needs to provide us with the healing. And that, as it turns out, although these things aren't named by nature, they're named by us, but the system in the body that's responsible for making sure that the right balance of chemicals are produced to do whatever's needed based on what's happened, we named the endocannabinoid system.
We named it?
We named it that. Nature didn't do that. Nature doesn't name anything. It just has all these things, and we come along and name it.
Okay.
So when the government in the United States was trying to prove that cannabis had no medicinal value, they found out that there was receptor sites for the cannabis chemistry, within our bodies, all through our bodies. The CB1, the CB2 receptors were there, and that's complicated shit, folks. That's like the key that you need to operate those receptor sites is a very complicated key that it's found in nature in the form of these cannabinoids was very interesting, and it meant that there was something else going on. And upon further investigation, it turns out that our bodies create these same chemicals that are these cannabinoids that exactly mimic each other. And that's why cannabis works for us as medicine for all of these different things, that our own body creates these chemicals, part of our endocannabinoid system.
So it's almost like that emergency that you can buy during the cold season will help you prevent a little colds. This is kind of the cannabinoids were helping keeping us healthy.
Here's the thing. The human body is a very complex machine.
Oh, I know
and
that.
It takes the right things to go in there for our bodies to be able to do what they need to do. And some of those things we call essential.
Yeah.
So there's the essential fatty acids. Yeah. And those essential fatty acids are not found in most of the things that we consume. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we consume enough things that have that. The seafood has the essential fatty acid. Flax has it. Cannabis has it.
Whereas in the 70s they thought fat was bad for us, but actually there were some good.
Well, fat and the essential fatty acids are not quite the same thing.
No, but there are some good fats for us.
There are absolutely good fats, and that's what we're talking about. These fats are essential for the creation of that chemistry that goes and activates our cells in dealing with trauma and stress and inflammation and pain and all of those things. Our body creates chemistry to be able to go and deal with all that stuff, and that chemistry is created by what you're eating, and you need to be eating the right amount of the essential fatty acids to be able to create that chemistry that you need to heal the things in your body. And so, as I mentioned, cannabis and flax are two of the plants that contain those essential fatty acids that we need, but there's very few others.
Yes.
And in seafood, it's there, the omegas are there, but not quite in the right ratio for human heart function, for example. Okay. So you have to be careful how much seafood you consume. Yeah. So cannabis, the reason that our bodies have this endocannabinoid system is because our bodies have been evolving for millennia. Yeah. And for millennia, the main staple food source of human beings has been the cannabis plant. Yeah. Those seeds became an essential nutrient for human development throughout millennia. And that's why we developed an endocannabinoid system. So here in North America, cannabis was a staple food that people ate, but it was far more than that, because what they did was, for the domesticated animals that they were consuming, they had to get them through the winters. And so they learned to grow cannabis. It was the main thing that would grow them enough biomass of what they could use. And that's what they fed them with during the summer months. But they would collect those cannabis seeds, they'd put them into galvanized buckets, they would crush them up with poles, put them out in the hot sun for a couple of days, turn them upside down, give them a pop, and out would pop these hemp seed cakes. And that's what they'd pile up in the barns during harvest season, and that's what would get their livestock through the winter time, and that's what they fed them. So the chickens, we'd get it in our chickens, and our beef, and our pork, and our eggs, all that stuff, as well as eating it in gruel and cereals and breads and other things.
And we had less cancers and diabetes at those times too, right?
Well, what happened was back in the 30s, when they basically wiped, it was 1935 when the Cannabis Stamp Act came, where farmers could still grow cannabis, and everybody was growing cannabis, but they had to get a government-issued stamp to be able to grow it. And then there was going to be a fee. It wasn't highly prohibitive. It was much more prohibitive on the medical grade of cannabis that they were producing. But on the industrial cannabis, they had to pay to get this certificate. But the trick was that the government offices didn't get their certificates in time. You know how government works. Bureaucracy, delays. Darn it, anyway, so sorry, but you're not going to be able to grow cannabis this year because we don't have our certificates, you know. And so, but it's okay. Don't worry about that, because we have these other things we're going to help you grow. So the government subsidized the growing of cotton and the growing of other crops to the farmers, because a farmer's crop is their life. Without it, you die. You can't feed your family. You have no resources. You have to get your crops in time. You have to have the harvest done. It's a very grueling, very demanding occupation to be a farmer, especially back in those days. So that to now not be able to produce the hemp that they were going to produce because the government can't get their certificate. And I mean, after all, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it, to be actually growing hemp without a certificate? Who would do that? So they completely swapped over to people changing their crops out of growing hemp into growing all of these other things. They did an amazing job, actually, at removing cannabis from the North American landscape. And so what happened was, I'll let you get that just a sec. What happened was, is you fast forward now a few generations, and 80% of the population are deficient in the essential fatty acids. We are considered to be quite deficient in what we need to actually produce the cannabinoids.
And they're saying that Amity Grant says they just passed hemp feed for the U.S., so they're bringing it back. It
is coming back. It's all coming back. This is the process we're in.
Because it's becoming legal, and we're realizing that it's actually good for you.
They can't deny the truth. That's what it is.
Well, they did for all these years.
Well, we can't deny it forever. Apparently.
Forever,
Hopefully.
The truth will always come out.
If we do the right things to get the change that we need, hopefully, the truth will rise to the top, and eventually things can reason out. I'm confident in that. I look over my lifespan and the things that have happened, some of which I never thought would happen in my lifespan. Even the falling of the Berlin Wall was something that, prior to that happening, I think most of us felt that was not a possibility within our lifetimes, And I've seen a lot of things happen and change in my lifetime that I think we didn't think were possible. And so change like that is possible, and I'm very confident and optimistic that maybe even if it's not in my lifetime, it'll be not too far down the road, that we do get some reasonableness in with respect to how we are governed, that we need to reset our democracy and take the power away from the elected public servants so that they are limited in what they're able to do to interfere with the lives of free people. That if you're harming somebody else, they have all the reason in the world to interfere with you in reasonable ways that make sense, that are based on common law and respect for you, with innocent until proven guilty, and all those things that we've evolved to this point and we will beyond. But we need to do this. We need to rethink as a people what it is that is governing us, and who we allow to govern us, and how we allow them to govern us, what limits are on them, how accountable they are for what they do and don't do, and how they do things as far as transparency goes. Those things need to be revisited big time shortly, and our case is a big one to expose how much we need to revisit that. the corruption that's involved that would prevent us from providing cannabis, this amazing plant, with no overdose threat to people who are at great risk of overdosing. For the government to be impeding our ability to do that, to not supporting us in doing that, is a real huge example of how corrupt our system is, and how much we really need to go back and think about what we allow our public servants to be doing for us and to do against us. We have rights, and we have, we're born
Well, they tell us we have rights.
kidnapped. We are born kidnapped. They created us and brought us into the world without our permission, and here we are, slave to these people that are giants, that can talk, that know everything, that hold our food, and everything, that, our safety in the palm of their hands, and we are subject to those people until such time as we rise above that.
Yeah.
And this is the human seed that grows into the mature human being that is created out of that seed, and along the development of that is that process. That the people that brought us here, or the people that are charged with our upbringing, are able to tell us whatever they want to tell us, are able to make us do whatever they want us to do, and they have all the power and we have very little, although these days some of that's changing. But, ultimately that's the way it is. But when as a human being you get to that point where mom, dad, guardian, whoever, I love you, I thank you for what you've done in trying to help me and teach me and guide me, but I'm there now. I'm going to take the reins now. I'm 15, 16, 17, 19, 21, 28, 40, whatever it takes. Everybody's different, right? But when you get to that point and you say, I'm going to take the reins of my own life now, I appreciate what you've done for me. I don't agree with all of your values.
No.
I have some of my own understandings of things, and I think you're old-fashioned, and I think you don't get it, and I'm going to be me now. At that point, and from that point on, nobody gets to tell you to do shit you don't want to do ever again, or tell you have to do stuff unless you're harming somebody else, unless somebody's going to be significantly harmed in the process of your action or inaction. But you have that natural right. It's not given to you by any other human being, because how could it be? Who the fuck are they? They're just other human beings that were brought here, kidnapped, got to the point where they said, okay, see you later, mom and dad, and now they're them. But they're them and you're you, and they don't get to boss you around. Nobody does. It doesn't matter who the fuck they are. Sorry, Annie Barbie. Doesn't matter what pretty hat they're wearing, or what fancy badge they have, or what uniform they're wearing, or if there's a big group of them, unless they're willing to use force against you. And if they're willing to use force against you, well, then it's your choice.
My mom
what you do.
She kicked my ass.
Well, but what about when you're 40 or maybe still?
No, she threatens to throw me over the balcony.
She does. Well, you probably deserve it.
Our moms always have that power.
And maybe it's not a mom thing at that point. Maybe it's a human-to-human thing at that point. Although moms don't get to quit being moms ever,
and we still always.
And dads don't really ever get to quit being dads. But you do have to quit. Telling your kids what they have to do at some point in their development. And that's important.
Only suggest and give advice.
We do our best. And then at that point it's up to our children. And it's not up to the government, because the government can't be trusted to make decisions about what we do and don't do, obviously. And that's the big expose that we're doing. This is the big reveal here, is that you can't trust your government. They've known for a long time that there is no justification in using the criminal law against people possessing, growing, or selling cannabis or other plants. There is no justification for that. And they've known it for a long time. They've also known that by prohibiting it, they are doing a lot of damage. That they're causing a lot of harm by doing that, and yet they continue to go ahead and do that. You cannot trust your government. If we had public servants that were people that took their job seriously, that knew that they were being paid by us to care about us, and along came this discovery of some natural plant that could help us sleep, that could help us feel better, that could help us stay calm in the midst of chaos, that could cause us to suppress our violence when we're feeling angry at our spouse, that could do these miraculous things for us.
Yeah.
And we could make cottages out of it, and we could make cars out of it. We could make plastics out of it. We could use it. We can make dynamite out of it. It's explosives. It's glue. It's paint. It's cosmetics. It's food. It's fuel. It's all. Can you imagine if we've got these public servants who understand and take their job seriously, that we are paying them to care about us? What would they do with that information about this newly discovered plant in nature? What should they be doing about that?
We were discussing that maybe they just don't want to look bad because they said it was bad.
Yes.
But you know what? This is the 21st century, and a lot of people, a lot of human beings are learning to own their mistakes. They say, I'm sorry.
That's right.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
So Government of Canada, step up and say, I'm sorry.
Get over it.
This was a fucking mistake.
Get over it. You
Cannabis
look bad.
is good for you. Let's start smoking it, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
today's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day.
We can accept that nowadays. Maybe in the 80s and 70s, mistakes were not so bad.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of face to be lost.
Yeah.
But there may also be other financial repercussions that they're worried about.
Yeah,
that,
well, I think if they tell people it's actually good for you, the government would win. Their government stores would sell more. Their prices would come down because more people would be buying.
So then there's this human being here who, because of prohibition, has had horrendous complications in his life.
Yeah.
That if cannabis prohibition hadn't have been there, their life would have been far superior to what it is.
Yeah.
Now the government comes out and says, oh, we're sorry, and we're going to own it. We've known since the 30s that really we shouldn't be using the criminal law to prohibit this and that it was going to ruin people's lives. We're sorry. Do you not think that person now has a right to sue the government for what they did? And that could be part of what they're afraid of?
Yeah.
That there could be millions of lawsuits brought against them? Because really, they knew full well.
They can just pass a law that said they won't allow them to do that, but we're right.
Right?
Because they just did that with the vaccine, where we're not allowed to sue those companies if the vaccines go wrong. So we're like we were saying last week, why can't we just do this?
Well, we would have to do that,
right?
Yeah, we would have to do that.
We'd have to make
because
a rule that,
I don't necessarily agree with that.
We're going to tell the truth
because
now,
why doesn't this guy get to sue the government that ruined his fucking life knowingly?
I want to sue him too.
Of course.
I did lots of time.
So this is the accountability that we are lacking.
Yeah.
That we need to have, and I get it. Yeah. That the government, those people especially who voted certain ways, who produced bills written in certain ways, they've got a lot to be concerned about.
Yeah.
That if they're held liable for the damage that they've done,
I understand that part,
it is substantial.
Yeah.
So, no, you're right. That there's a lot of this losing face issue that could be much more consequential than that.
They're more worried about that than just trying to make it look like it's legal. But by losing face.
So they're continuing the ridiculous facade that's been going on for decades of being so foolish. And we all know they are so foolish. When they get up there and say those stupid things, those reefer madness things, we know they're lying through their teeth. But there's a bigger agenda going on. They're doing it because they know that they have to do it. Because if they don't do it, if they admit that they've been wrong, they could be in trouble. And it's really too bad. So what do we got to do to get past it? I mean, I personally, it's just me, I'm not the guy there that's had all his life ruined, although my life has been severely altered by prohibition.
Sort of waiting for this guy to pass.
I guess.
In 30, 40 years, and then bring on the law where nobody will say that, right? Say that, hey, I did time 40 years ago for this, right? So maybe that's what
there's a statute of limitations on how long, since you ruined a person's life. There's no statute
of limitation in Canada at all, but there are in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, If you stole a chocolate bar when you were 10 years old, you could still get charged with theft at 50. There is no statute of limitations.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for these guys, I mean, they've known for a long time it shouldn't have been a crime, and yet they've done it. The damage that they've done is immense. They are still winning in that regard. I mean, I'm optimistic that we're going to get that the cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah, it is.
The stats are going to save us eventually. Although, like you say, they're trying to sell government weed that's been irradiated or chemically altered to the point where maybe it's not going to have those same good stats for us.
Exactly.
But I still think the plant will win out even in that. But in general, the statistics are going to show that there's no justification for using any type of tax dollars to enforce the use of cannabis out of our environment.
I think if they did any survey on that, one of the questions would be, who do you buy your cannabis from? The government store or your local person? And then you would probably see the differences in health benefits, you know, by the answers on the questions. Just by the government store saying maybe they're not getting pain relief, but if they bought it from their local guy, they did get pain relief. So, you know, maybe if
and at the Cannabis Substitution Program, I was approached by a representative of the LPs and asked if I would consider using only legal cannabis. Well, the question was only legal cannabis. My answer is that people can grow up to 4 plants for themselves.
Yeah.
They can share that which they grew.
Yeah.
Many people have medical licenses to grow far more than that. They can share what they're using. The people that are supporting and donating to our project, for the most part, are growing under those 2 circumstances. So safe to say that what we are using is probably legal cannabis.
Yeah.
That wasn't the answer they were looking for at all.
No.
That wasn't the question that they were proposing to me. But I also said that I would accept from them.
Yeah.
But if I did that, I would run a parallel program. So
Yeah.
that we would have, you know, this group of people that agreed
Yeah.
to go on cannabis provided by
and
the
then,
LPs,
so you could have the
and then
different
the other would be by our donors,
Yeah.
and just see. I mean, that's a fair contest.
That's-
I mean, there's no obvious winner to that,
I
right?
think
Because the LP cannabis, they might think that they would win that
Yeah.
because there'd be no harm done by their cannabis,
Yeah.
and they might think that our unregulated cannabis, maybe there would be some problems.
Yeah, they were scared.
So, but I think that I'd like to see what the
Yeah.
results are. We've been 4 years of putting out unregulated cannabis with no problems.
And then
So, you
also
know,
for business optics, if the LP, if you had said yes, the LP gets to boast, hey, we're helping people get off fentanyl, right? And so they were trying.
yeah,
to
but
get
they're not
that way
allowed. They're
too.
not allowed to comment on the medicinal value of cannabis, and if it's helping somebody get off of fentanyl, I put to you that that's medical.
Oh, really? Yes.
So they're not allowed to talk about the benefits of cannabis.
Huh.
So I don't think they'd be able to stand up and say, "Hey,
Is
we're
that
helping."
in their
you.
stores or just in general?
In general, if you have
Okay.
a license, that's part of your
I
agreement.
thought it was just in the store. They don't. I don't. They can't tell you anything.
I don't know, you know.
In the store or not, but.
Honestly, I'm not Freddie Pritchard. I don't spend a whole lot of time reading out all of these
I know,
different
Freddie.
things.
Yeah.
I love Freddie. We need him back.
So do I.
There's somebody who will meticulously
Read all this
digest and be able to regurgitate all of these different ins and outs of all this. Except that for me, it should be like what computers were originally. When I made a decision not to get involved in learning all about the early computers because they were going to be so much more user-friendly down the road somewhere. And I would hope that most of these regulations that are going on right now, the over-regulation of cannabis will be set aside. You know, not all of it, I'm sure. We need some regulation with cannabis, that's fine. I'm fine with some reasonable regulation. But this over-regulation, the unreasonable regulation, I would hope that we can work that out before too much longer and get into some reasonable grounds here. But not as long as greed and corruption are involved, not as long as there's the ability of those people who have the government by the short and curlies to get their way. As long as that's going on, we're going to have the difficulties that we're having in getting access to cannabis in reasonable ways.
Yeah.
So, back to what we're doing here. We decided that we would address the opioid crisis in the most reasonable of ways by providing high-dose cannabis edibles for free to anybody that wanted to line up outside of Vandu near Main and Hastings and get them. And we did that successfully, all through donations. The donators have been amazing angels through all of this. There's so many people involved in donating over the years. And thanks to them and the efforts of a large group of amazing volunteers, everything was by volunteer, everything was by donation. We managed to sustain a program of giving away cannabis high-dose edibles to the tune of about maybe 15 million milligrams over those 3.5 years at Vandu. Twice a week, 300 care packs, 4 to 6 edibles per care pack every time. Never missed a time. And eventually managed to get the government to acknowledge the studies that were being done that were showing the safety and the efficacy of what we were doing, to pass a motion to allow low barrier access. Low barrier access allowed us, through meetings that we had with City Hall, where we agreed we would find a storefront and provide the service and then get a license if we were providing what the neighborhood required. But instead we had licensing come, threaten our landlord. That resulted in eviction, even though we put in an application with the federal government under an emergency basis to give us a ministerial exemption to avoid the eviction. But the eviction came and went. We ended up out on the street, operating out of an RV. We cannot stop doing our program with 250 people relying on us for 420 milligrams every 4 days. We couldn't stop the program. We couldn't go back to Vandu. That was not an option. We did not want to have people lining up twice a week again, hundreds of people, through the winter time and all the rest of it. We weren't going to do that again. So the only option, quitting was not an option. The only option was to rent an RV, to locate it right where the store had been for 4.5 months, where people knew where to find us, and to continue to offer our services through the RV. And that's been going on. We're now entering our 17th week of being in the RV, which means we've gone right through the winter time of not having a store where people could come in out of the cold weather, and not see our products that we have available, not have time to interact with the compassionate staff that we have here, but instead have to stand in the rain outside an RV and get a very base minimal service. But we have maintained the program. Everybody's getting their 420 every 4 days, and we're still waiting for the federal government to provide us with this emergency ministerial exemption to allow us to keep doing what we've been doing for 4 years, but to be doing it inside this store instead of 40 feet down the sidewalk on the curb out of an RV. But
maybe a thank you to Carly for stepping up to do the baking.
Oh yes, thanks Carly for we got your baked goods. Thanks to so many people that are out. It's hard if I start to stop to thank one.
Well, we're just
at this point
Mary left, right?
Because Mary, we love you and we miss you. And yes, Carly has provided a batch of edibles for us, and Gail has got product, and she's going to be providing a batch of edibles coming right up as well.
Good.
And Damien and DJ are on it, and Colleen has stepped up as well. And so
community.
Of course, this project is going to continue. Yes. There's so much support for it. And we could always use more in the form of edible donations for people.
High dose.
And so that's all great. Yeah, the thing is with donators, man, I want to thank them all. I want to do everything I can for all of them.
Yeah.
But I've left the blogging of our daily stuff to Jen. She does thank some people, most people of the time.
Yeah.
It's not like it was before at Vandu, where I would make sure that everybody that donated for that particular bi-weekly episode got mentioned.
Got a tag.
And got a tag.
Yeah.
So we don't do that anymore. But our donators, they don't care.
Yeah.
It was for them. It was never about getting a mention or getting promoted. It was always about wanting to help what we're doing here and wanting to further our efforts to allow for low barrier access cannabis shops. So very thrilled with so many people. I can't mention you all. That's why I don't mention hardly at all.
Yeah.
But really, I should be mentioning all of you all the time, every day. And I love you all. And it's all been such an amazing community effort to get to where we are here. And I think we're poised. I think we're on the verge. It's too late now, so it wasn't today, but perhaps tomorrow.
I know, right?
Will be the day that Health Canada provides us with the license.
Have you talked to the federal minister yet?
Well, yeah, I call the federal health minister on a fairly regular basis. They don't ever answer. I leave a message. Dakota is the assistant to Patty Haydu, and we have had 2 conversations. One of them very long, positive conversation, and I believe they're on our side.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should take much. I'm sorry to say, Dakota. I know you're watching. That it shouldn't take much. That's what I tell people. If it should take more than that, please call me and explain it to me.
Yeah.
But a ministerial exemption, just a signature from Minister Haydu that would allow us to get a license from the city to maintain what our services are, that shouldn't take much. I get it that the complicated part of licensing for us, our staff, and our suppliers takes a little longer, although 5.5 months is still a long time too, and I know that's not your department, that's Health Canada. But as far as the Health Minister of Canada goes, it should really be a simple signature on some letterhead with the CSP and the Healing Wave can continue to operate under the Serious Hope Society until licenses are procured. That would solve all of our issues. That would get us out of the cold and back into a safe space for people. But here we are waiting. We'll see if tomorrow's the day. Let's go check outside, see what's going on with the crew. And what else do I need? The live transition. I need a drink. Oh, I know. Yeah, it's probably what I should drink.
Thank you. What is this thing called again?
It is the Stunden Glass.
Stunden Glass.
Studenglass. I did put the link up in the comments. I could do it one more time. It is a great device. I love it. And very COVID friendly. All right.
Okay, let's head on out there. I gotta do something there first.
All right. Oh yeah. I can do that. I can tell you right now.
You win.
Yeah. Ready, there you go.
Let's see.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Another beautiful night in Vancouver. So this is the Ganja Mobile, the Hippie van, the Healing Wave Cannabis Substitution Project RV, reefer van, marijuana van. It's got lots of different names, and this is where we help people. Typically we would have it all decked out with signage. That's what I want to do. I never try to hide or deceive in any way from what we're doing. So I would have signs on here. We've got them all made up, but the VPD forced us to keep a low profile. Even though it's been 17 weeks that we've been out here, we're entering our 17th week, and all we have is a marijuana leaf in the window, so that people know that we're here. And then we'll do another quick look in the back door. This is the Cannabis Substitution Program side of things. Hey George, how's it going in there?
Not too bad.
Say hi to the Pot TV viewers.
Hey people.
Can you show us your tray? So these are some of the things we have for people that they can choose from to get 420 milligrams. How much are these things?
150.
150 milligrams in one caramel. How about this one?
50.
50. What do we got here?
Cookies are 80.
80 milligrams. Rice Krispie squares.
These are 60.
All right. And the cubes are 100 each?
No, those are 50s each.
Yeah, but 100 per pack?
Yeah, 100, and then we have a single 100.
Very good. And there's other things as well that we have, caps and things. And everybody gets a joint with their package as well. We have the Healing Wave side of the van, where people can get access to a whole range of high-dose edibles and other cannabis products. Hi, folks. Pretty good. How are you guys all doing?
Not bad at all. It's a good day.
Say hi to the people at home watching on Pot TV.
How you doing, folks? Cheers.
That's
Going good.
Jennifer Nelson over there, and we have Andrew and George holding down the fort.
We do a great job.
Even if you say so yourself,
Not to toot
hey.
our own horn or anything.
even if he says so himself, he does a great job, and he does do a great job. We all take a great deal of pride in what we're doing here. I will say it's not always easy. Sometimes it's a lot of fun, and sometimes it's a little bit slack. But for the most part, we have to deal with a lot of situations here. We have to deal with a lot of people who are struggling in their lives and come to us looking for answers and comfort and ways to deal. And I think we all pride ourselves a lot in having a lot of answers for people and ways to deal with stuff. And we help a lot of people in this community, so we're all very proud of what we do for sure. It's been quite an experience, I'll say that. Very rewarding as well.
Like that's $3. I can't do it.
Well, that's hilarious. You can't see what's going on, but the person at the window has a mask on, and they've got the joint protruding out from the mask, and then we were just helping them light it. So, we have a lot of humor that happens as well. But so this is the thing. Anything you guys want to tell us about, George, Andrew?
What do you recommend for the best indica?
Andrew.
How was your day, Andrew?
It was pretty good.
Oh,
Very
you're
good. Black cherry punch.
His opinion. So.
Okay, we need Andrew's expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. $20 worth.
Okay.
So we try to be as good as we can with people in advising them and having the products that they need and
we like to give
how to
them what
use
they
them.
want.
How was your day with CSP today?
It was good. Very good.
Same old now, eh? Getting to be, you know, people come to the door, they're thankful for what they get, and
Sure they are.
you know,
Sure they are.
and they go away happy.
They go away feeling good.
Yeah, so good.
Sure. And George, have a
You
good
like
day.
what you like.
Yeah.
Pretty steady.
Yeah,
Over 35 so far.
right. And George was one of the holy rollers for us at Van Du,
Well, it's all good.
and has been involved with our project for probably almost a full 4 years, eh, George?
Okay.
Four going on
He
five.
does a great job.
Going on 5. Well, we're now into our 5th
There's some
year.
people that prefer
We're not
to deal
going
with
on
it, there's some
completing
people
our
that deal
5th
with
year
me. It is what it is,
anytime
right? Like-
soon, but we've started it.
Well, he does a good job.
He does a very good job.
He does.
And Andrew, he was provided to us by Ted Scully, who was my head of volunteers for the first little while at Van Du. And then Ted had to go elsewhere and wasn't going to be able to help us. And he said, "Don't worry about it," because I was worried about it. You know, it was a pretty big undertaking we had going on at Van Du at that point, and Ted was doing a great job for me. And so he said, "Don't worry about it. I've got just the guy for you. He'll do a perfect job." And he introduced me to Andrew, and then Andrew just took right over, and he follows me around like he's my shadow. And, at Van Du he did anyway. Here he's on his own. He's taken right over. He manages the CSP side, and he knows exactly what he's doing and how to help people. But at Van Du, he followed me around there and came to understand everything that I needed, and he was right there with it, whatever I needed, whatever situation arose, he was there to deal with it. And he made my job pretty easy there, so I'm very happy to have him. And Jen, she was a person in the lineup for the first little while, and she managed to talk her way into the holy rollers and then into packaging, and then took over packaging, and now manages what we do here with the Healing Wave. So how's your day been? You're looking rather bling, girl. Come on over here. We make an absolute killing selling stuff here, and you can tell by what Jen's wearing.
That only cost $20.
This must have been about $20,000. I'm sure they're not any less than $20,000. And one enough wasn't good for her. She had to have another one installed on her hat here.
Solid gold hat.
Solid gold hat. It's heavy. It's heavy, but you know, she's not only the internet princess, but she's also a fashion statement, and you know, every day is surprising and delightful. So, yeah.
That was quite a laugh.
So tell us about your day, Jen.
It's been good. It's been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day it's busy with, you know, both people purchasing and people that, you know, can't afford to get anything. It's always a mix of the two.
Low cost and no cost are both very important.
Definitely.
Yep.
Like, well, I tell Mike every time he brings his cookies, like, how many people rely on his cookies. Cause those,
Mike the Cookie Monster. He's been with me for over 3.5 years, providing 30 milligram extremely healthy cookies, because he wants to deal with the lack of nutrition down here in the downtown east side and the need for cannabinoids.
Well, and his are a good option, like, for diabetics as well, because, like, most edibles are quite sugary. They're either chocolates or cookies or all those kinds of things, right? There isn't a whole lot of options for diabetics.
He's got a lot of grains, but he doesn't have any of the nuts that people would be allergic to.
Yeah.
Very conscientious fellow and a wonderful angel that has been providing down here. And
he really is. Yeah.
The impact has been huge. No one will ever be able to calculate it.
He's told me stories about people getting off drugs with his cookies. I've met people that say that as well.
Well, we have that experience here, but he has it himself because we're just one of the arms of his little operation. He provides the OPS.
Because I think it started out with him selling those. He sells cookies
it did start out with that.
on his own, and he still does that. But
I guess he had some friends at the bar that liked his cookies and were willing to pay for them, and that kind of started the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then he heard.
How did you?
He read in an article in Metro magazine that cannabis edibles could help people on opioids, and so
he already knew you, or he found out?
No, he came to the downtown east side, and he started asking about something to do with that, and they said, "Hey, that's those people up at Van Du." And so he came to Van Du, and he had heard about us on the street.
That's fucking awesome.
And he just said, "Hey, I want to help you, and I'm going to give you cookies every week." And that's been 3.5 years of doing that.
There was only a small period where he wasn't able to, and that was because like he had a whole lot of shit go wrong with his house.
Yeah, there was some things that happened there.
His place went to shit.
He's always been renovating.
Yeah, but something bad happened. There was like a flood
Jerry
or something.
Oh, man,
I think Jerry left already. Yeah.
Oh dear. And I don't. Wait, I don't. Nope, wouldn't even have my phone with me.
Shocker.
I can't even message him. So I'll wrap it up here shortly anyway.
I can message him.
But well, you're talking now.
Okay, well, so you're talking too. I wanted to send a message. So, anyways, it can wait.
So, what other highlights of your day did you have?
What was the
Did
other
you like
story
our car accident?
Oh my god, that was hilarious. Like, okay, of all the ways people have fucking find out about us, driving right into us is a great way.
The guy hadn't quite got the whole notion of how to parallel park. And he whacked us with his mirror and he broke my little light on the side.
Yeah.
So,
and then you got into chatting with him, I guess. And
well, I mean, you know, I'm the owner of the vehicle. You just hit my vehicle. I don't think I want to go through insurance. I'm probably not going to charge you very much. And, you know, I'm probably going to throw the money into the donation for the program we got. And he said, what's the program? And I said, well, we have a program where we help people get cannabis as an option to opioids, especially the high concentrates and the edibles. Wow, really? He totally thought that was the coolest thing he'd heard. And he said, and do you sell cannabis here too? And I said, we do have it available for people that need to get it. And he said, well, I was just actually pulling in to go and buy some cannabis, not off of us. And so he got some off of us, and yeah, so we have a new faithful member of our society.
You're definitely good at taking any opportunity you can to educate people about us.
We did a good job.
Even earlier today, did you talk already about what happened in the alley?
No.
No, yeah, we have some people that have been living in our alley here for the whole time we've been here, I believe. Even in the shop, we had people living in the alley in tents and stuff. And today, the city came and took a whole bunch of his shit and just threw it all out.
A lot of it was garbage, but I certainly
but like bikes and all kinds of stuff.
Well, those were bikes that had been stripped down, and they were probably stolen to begin with. Although I wouldn't accuse the people in the lane that are there. I told him, I said, I think these guys that are here in these tents
but you also took that
pretty good people.
To talk to the cops. And you said he was on our side.
I took this officer named Clayton aside, and we talked a lot about our program and what we're doing, and he did not know about us. He did not know about the cannabis edibles and how they work for people. He learned a lot today, actually, and we did a fist bump, and he said he really supports what we're doing. You know, I told him that we'd been threatened by the DPA.
Remember what else he said to you?
Well, lots of things he said.
But if he ever has to come against you, he apologizes ahead of time.
Yeah, I was just getting to that. He said, you know, I told him what had happened to us and that we had been under threat from the VPD, but that we couldn't quit doing what we're doing. It is too important, and we care about these people. And just because the VPD is uninformed and doesn't care, doesn't mean we're going to stop. We can't stop. We've been doing it for years. These people are all family to us now. And how could we ever stop? And so he said, well, you know, it's just a job, but he said, if I ever end up, he said, you and I are both looking to do the right thing. Yep. And we're trying to get to the same place through different routes. And he said, I really hope that you succeed. And he said that. But he said, if we do happen to butt heads, I want to apologize to you ahead of time. It's just a job for me.
Yeah. But, see, that's the thing, though. It's a lot more than a job for us.
We put our heart into it.
Yep.
Yeah. He's getting paid, and so he can't say no to what he's asked to do, and we care, so we can't say no to what we know we have to do. Yeah. And we're both...
Well, to me, I don't really
I told him, so we're both just trying to do the right thing.
I would say no to something that's wrong.
Yeah, everybody's trying to do the right thing in a screwed up world. And it's easy to do the right thing when you know what the right thing to do is, but it isn't very easy when you don't. True. A lot of times it's really hard to know what the right thing to do is, so... Yeah, and that same with cleaning out the lane like that and taking away that stuff. There was some sides of it I agree with, and
what
I
didn't agree with was I don't think they gave him really much of a chance to take what he wanted to put aside. I think they just kind of started taking his shit. Yeah. Like I've been homeless. I remember having to deal with that, and that sucks.
He did have a lot of stuff though.
It's still it doesn't matter. It's still a traumatizing thing.
It was getting a little bit out of control.
Sure, I agree. I understand that, but to do it the way they did is traumatizing. Because I've been through that. It's not pleasant.
Go around the street. There's other people with lots of stuff too.
So anyway, yeah, we deal with all kinds of stuff here at the Healing Wave.
We witness all kinds of stuff here too.
We witness all kinds of stuff.
We've seen car accidents. We've been involved in one now too.
It was extremely minor. I charged him $22. It's just a little.
And in change, you gave him some weight because he didn't.
No, that was a completely separate transaction.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's have a look. See what we
So
got.
anyway, and that's what we're trying to do. We're just waiting for the federal government. We hope that the approval comes really soon. It's been a long wait already. It's been a ridiculously long wait, but that only means that we must be getting close. And so hopefully it won't be long.
No, I wished.
And I guess that's it for today's show. We'll update you again next week on our continuing saga of our pursuit for low barrier access community cannabis shops. And with any luck, maybe by then we will have gotten our proper answer.
Thank you.
In the meantime, there's other shows you can watch on Pot TV. I'm really thankful to Pot TV and to my producer Neil for giving me the platform and the opportunity. On Mondays it's Carly Marley and BC Bud Gal with the 420 Lifestyle Show. More entertainment than you can get anywhere else on the web. On Thursdays BC Bud Gal comes back with Morning Glory. And that's at 10 a.m. in the morning. You can wake and bake.
Watching your face through a dream
you
catcher.
like the dream catcher? I just want to know, are the dreams coming this way or this way? Are they coming out of me and being caught, or are they being caught before they get to me? I'm not sure.
It's a hybrid.
I'm not sure. On Friday, Johnny B is here with How's It Growing, and he'll teach you everything you know to grow your own plants, and I highly recommend you grow your own plants. We should all be growing as many plants as we can. Our mission is still to overgrow the government, and maybe eventually if we all grow enough, they'll just walk away with all their stupid rules and leave us all alone, and we can have some cannabis freedom and some real freedom. And I think that's it, because unfortunately we lost Greg Williams, as I'm sure you all know, and we're all very, very sad about that, and that's a huge gap in our Pot TV schedule. One day we may be able to fill it, but I'm sure no one will ever really fill the shoes of Greg Williams.
Couldn't do it if you tried.
No.
In the meantime, maybe we should just play some of his previous episodes.
They always go. There's so many. His video on THC percentages alone. Don't even talk to me about light spectrum. You learn so much.
He's still got so much that he's teaching us for generations to come, and mostly about how to have a really cool, even, calm demeanor about how you go about fighting an evil, corrupt government.
Yeah.
And that was one of the real qualities of Greg, was that he could all make it seem easy and not so serious, while at the same time saying things in ways that really exposed how serious things are and how they were. So we love you, Greg. We'll always love you, and we'll honor you for many, many, many decades to come, I am sure. And I hope you're having just the best time up there where the real good ganja grows, I'm sure, with so many of the other pioneers and people that are also up there. So yeah, we don't have a Wednesday show and we don't have a Sunday show, but those are good days to go back and look in the archives and see what's there. And as for me, I'll be back on Tuesday with another episode of the THC show, where we'll help to update you on the continuing saga of the pursuit for a community-based low barrier access cannabis store. And while you're out there, you know, life is complicated and tough these days, and so much of it depends on your disposition. So if you can alter your disposition a little bit, maybe you can find a way to alter your disposition a little bit into a way that allows you to look at things that are a little less stressful and a little more enjoyable. Take the time for personal growth. Above all else, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and have as much fun as you can.